is simply doing the Docker desktop setup. Jenkins Docker setup. So you have to install Docker desktop before this. That is the prerequisite of this step. I will be telling you the step in brief, very brief, how to install Docker desktop in your case. It will be depending on your OS, little bit different steps. So first open google.com and simply type Docker desktop. Okay, in the case for Windows or for Mac, whatever. Click on the first link. Click on download Docker desktop. Depending on your OS, it will be showing. It will be an exe file for Windows, for a DMG file for Mac OS, and for Linux there is some other extension, some archive extension, I think. So after you have done the installation properly, you can see the Docker desktop like this. It will be showing all this container images and volumes on the left side, and on the right side containers which are right now running or stopped, the images which you have downloaded. All this will be showing in your Docker desktop. But we are not concerned about the UI of the Docker desktop, but simply running that in the background. It should be running in the background, otherwise the commands for Docker will not work. Now for installing the Jenkins image, downloading the Jenkins image, what command we should use? So docker run and -d means it is running in the detached mode. This means this will not wait for the prompt when this command will be executed, but it will be running as a background process. So that is what the detached mode means. After that, you can give the name of the container. In my case, the Jenkins container, Jenkins server is already existing, so I will be using Jenkins server new for this demo. After this, I will be providing the ports which I need to expose. So 8080 default port for Jenkins, which I will be exposing. The left port is your localhost port, means your local environment host port, and this one is the container port which will be exposed. Similarly, there is another port we need to expose, 50,000. 50,000 is the port used by Jenkins for communicating between its master node and the agents. I will not be covering anything about agents in this video, but in case you are working with agents in future, then you have to expose this port as well. So this is what this 50,000 is meant for. Now provided the port, now we have to provide the volume. Named volume we have to create, where Jenkins will be creating your files. Like if you are building the Spring Boot application, it will be creating the jar files in that volume itself. So named volume, the name of the volume you can give like this, Jenkins_home. This is the name which we will be referring to for this volume. But this volume is already existing in my case, so I will be giving a new name here. And it will be mapping to the Jenkins volume at this path /var/Jenkins_home_new. It will be creating the volume at this location. And we can reference that volume using this name. After this, we have to provide the image name which Docker should download. So image name is Jenkins/Jenkins, and the tag which we will be using is LTS for long-term support. This is the most stable build of Jenkins, so you don't have to worry about its deprecation or anything. Now you have the name of the container which will be run after this command, the ports which are to be exposed, the volume which needs to be created, and the image which Docker should download in case it is not already present. So let's press enter and let's see what happens. Oh, now we got the container ID, but we don't have to remember this long container ID. We will be simply referring this name of the container. Before that, let's see if the container is created or not. The Docker desktop it should be visible. So in container you can see the name of the container is Jenkins server new. This is the ID, and everything else is shown on the right side. And by the way, it is running because you type docker run, that is why it is running. You can see the currently running containers using this command docker ps. It will show this container. In our case, it is Jenkins server new. Only one container is running right now. If you want to see all the present containers, whether they are running or not, you can type this command docker container ls-a. Now it will show all the containers even if they are not running. So this is our container, these two are previously created containers. These are shown. Okay, this is all we need to remember for creating a Jenkins container for our case. But in case you want to stop the currently running container when you are like shutting down the system, before that you should actually stop the container. So for that there is a command docker stop and the name of the container. So Jenkins server new. This will give the name back, and now we can see in the Docker environment, desktop environment, the container is exited. Okay, it is not running right now. So you can see the real-time changes in the Docker desktop for every command you run here. Now if you want to start that container again, you can type this command docker start and the container name, the alias which you give, Jenkins server new. Now this is running. When you have set up the freshly new Jenkins container, you have to create a new user for your case. An admin user will already be created, but you have to create a new user for your case so that you can create your pipeline and everything in that server. But that admin user has a password also. So to fetch the password of that admin user, you can type command docker logs and the container name. For any container you can see the logs. This is the common command for any container for finding the logs of that container. So when you type this command, you can see the Jenkins initial setup is required, an admin has been created, but we have to use this password for initial setup. Okay, so this one, let's open that browser and let's access our Jenkins. We have already copied our password, but to access that Jenkins server running, you have to write localhost :8080, simply that. Okay. Now it is asking for unlocking the Jenkins. So the password you copied, simply paste it here. Now it will ask for the user creation. First the plugins installation is required. So let's wait for the plugins installation to be done. Then you can proceed to the next step. So that step took a while to install the suggested plugins. But once it is done, you are presented with this first admin user creation screen. So in my case, I will be creating a new user. Let's give the name this one. And the password I can give whatever password you can give. The same password you have to enter here. And the name, email. Okay. Now click on save and continue. Then you are presented with this instant configuration. Later on you have to modify this when you are using the ngrok tunnel, but for now you can keep it like this. It will not cause any issue. Now setup is complete. So now I will be showing you what all configurations initially is required for the Jenkins. So open this part, manage Jenkins, and directly open from here as well. Just dismiss this. Agents creation is not required right now. Now what are options you should be concerned about for our pipeline? So credentials you have to add. This option you should know how to manage this. Plugins, one plugin you have to install here. In our case, pipeline requires an SSH agent plugin, which I will be proceeding with in some time. Apart from that, in the system, once you are working with ngrok tunnel, then you have to change this host name. So whatever host ngrok will be providing to you, you have to replace this entire part with that host. For now you can keep it like this. Let's come back to this screen. Now first thing you have to install the plugin. So SSH agent plugin, we have to install from available plugins section. Simply type SSH agent and click on that plugin checkbox and install it. It will be pretty fast. After the installation, it is asking you have to restart Jenkins. We have to restart Docker container because plugin is installed, so some changes have to be done during the restart. But we don't have to use a UI for restart. We can simply use the terminal itself. As I've already told you previously, there is a command for starting the container, but there is also a command to restart the container. So simply type docker restart Jenkins-server-new. This will actually restart the container. So once it is restarted, when you type this URL again, this 8080 URL, it will ask for the login. So this time login with the user which you created. Now that plugin is also reloaded. So this setup of in this initial configuration of plugins is done. Now this credential configuration I will be dealing with next. Now we have to create a credential in our Jenkins console. So for that part, we can go from manage Jenkins and click on credentials. Now why we have to create a new credential in our case is when we are using our pipeline to connect to an EC2 instance from that pipeline itself, we will be using the SSH. Now our SSH connection, as you already know, requires a private key to be passed in the command. We will be running this pipeline from the Jenkins environment. So Jenkins environment should have that private key in it, somewhere saved in it, inside. So for saving that private key, we have to create a credential. That will be a global credential which we will be creating. So click on global here and simply add the credentials. Now type of the credential will be SSH username and private key. Okay. Now the ID we have to give, in our case it will be EC2 key, because this is key reference ID which our script will be using. Inside the script will be passing this ID to access this particular credential. Now the username we have to give the login user which that SSH will be using. That is not used in the script, but so that we can remember this particular credential, like it is an EC2 user based credential, we can give the username as EC2 user. Even while logging in into an EC2 instance, if it is an Amazon Linux image, the username while logging in you have to pass as EC2 user. So that's what it is related to, the EC2 user which you pass. In case of an Ubuntu image, we have to pass the user as Ubuntu. So if we are creating an EC2 instance which is an Ubuntu image, then we have to write Ubuntu here. It is not used, but for our reference only we are writing here. Now the private key we can directly enter here, add it, and after this we have to copy that private key. So let me grab that private key. Our next step is to access the Jenkins container from CLI. Because you have to install AWS CLI inside the container, we have to follow this step. Now for that, let's open a new terminal window, new tab actually. And here you have to type the command for accessing that container from the command line, docker exec-it. Now this is an execute, this exec means execute, and this is an integrated terminal. IT stands for integrated terminal. It will be terminal environment provided from the console itself, the container console. After this, I will be giving the name of my container, Jenkins server new. Now I will be typing the type of the console, which is bash in my case. I think this will be enough. Yeah. Now when I type this part, only this part, I am logged in as Jenkins user. But when we have to install AWS CLI, we have to use a root user. So the Jenkins user don't have the permission to install anything. So you have to exit first, use the previous command only, and then inside the exec, you have to give the user as root before continuing. Okay. Now you are logged in as root user. Now you can execute the sudo command, which is sudo apt-get update. You will do first. Okay. Sudo command is not, I think, found because it is not in Linux environment. You have to simply ignore the sudo in this case because root user is login is already present. Okay. Sudo is not required in our case. In case of EC2, sudo will be required, but in our case, sudo will not be required. So this command is done. Now apt install AWS CLI. Okay. Now it is asking for the confirmation. Let's give it confirmation. It is installing the AWS CLI inside the Jenkins container. This is a mandatory step because AWS upload is required.